Hello, everybody. All right. So with that, welcome to the Mikestand. Of course, we're gonna give people a chance to come in. As always, guys, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything we talk about tonight grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. I'm gonna put on some music for a couple minutes while I take care of some things, while we wait for more people to show up. Um, so with that, let me go ahead and do that. No. All right, I'm back. So let me just take care of one more thing here. A couple more things here before we get started. Alrighty then. So there we go. So let's see. We're 2.5 minute mark, coming up on 3 minutes here. So tonight we're gonna probably go over 3 articles. Um, a couple of them actually involving Chuck Dixon, some commentary from him on, of course, the recent stuff going on with Punisher, some other things as well. Also, the live action, the trailer for the live action adaptation of One Piece is out now, and it's coming out to some mixed reviews. So we're going to take a look at that as well, and of course, the wrestling wrap up, in which we'll go over the latest in the wrestling news in the wrestling world, including talk a little bit about what happened on last night's Dynamite, heading into this Sunday's Forbidden Door. Look ahead to, of course, tomorrow night's Rampage and Collision on Saturday, and also just find out what's going on Impact tonight as well. So with that, why don't we go ahead and get started then? As always, if anything grabs your attention as we're going over the material, feel free to comment and/or ask questions, and I will do the best I can to answer those questions. Okay, so, and of course, if we find that we have a little extra time, I might even add another story or two, depending on how much time we use here. So we might just do that. So, and we have talked about, of course, what's been going on with Punisher of late, what Jason Aaron has done to him, and we've heard here and there, some of the guys who formerly worked on Punisher, their takes on what's going on. Of course, we know, Mike Barron's written his character. Chuck Dixon has as well here. So Chuck Dixon reacts to Marvel's destruction of the Punisher. Quote, he looks like a fool and a complete nut job, unquote. Article by John F. Trent, published on June 20th, which was 2 days ago, Tuesday. So here we go. Longtime Punisher writer and the upcoming writer on the Rippaverse's Alpha Core book, Chuck Dixon reacted to Jason Aaron's conclusion of his Punisher series. And this is from 1993, Frank Castle as the Punisher in Punisher War Journal, Marvel Comics. After eschewing Frank Castle's iconic skull logo and taking away his arsenal of various firearms and explosives, Jason Aaron concluded his 12-issue Punisher series by revealing that his wife Maria intended to divorce him before she and their children were gunned down by mobsters in New York City. After being informed of Maria's intentions, Castle, who had previously been depicted as a struggling Catholic, prays to the Beast to grant him one last wish. That wish is apparently granted as Castle commits suicide with the powers of the Beast that removes himself from existence, with Doctor Strange remarking, quote, "I mean, the Punisher is no more," unquote. Which is what a lot of these SJWs were trying to do in the first place. They want to just completely erase Punisher out of existence. However, Castle did not seemingly die, but he transported himself to Weird World, where he's taken at least 4 orphans under his wing and built a shelter to keep them safe. He's also depicted wielding a giant axe. Dixon reacted to this, telling Rippaverse founder Eric July, quote, "I don't know who I feel sorry for more the last couple of weeks. That Toronto Blue Jays player or Frank Castle, because they're both getting the same treatment. The Toronto Blue Jay, they made him apologize. It looked like had a gun to his head, and then they made him throw out the first pitch in the Pride Day game. And then they fired him, and they brought in a bunch of people to boo him," unquote. Turning to Castle, he remarked, quote, "Now, Frank Castle, we find out, not only do they completely redo his origin, but they turn him into a fool. I mean, he looks a fool and a complete nut job. They've done everything they could to destroy this character," unquote. Quote, "And quite frankly, Marvel's never liked the Punisher," unquote, he continued. Quote, "They've always been looking for a reason to get rid of him, and now they've done it. And I don't blame Jason Aaron other than the fact that he's just following orders. This was editorially driven. An individual writer doesn't decide to do this. This comes from upstairs. We're embarrassed and we're going to get rid of the Punisher," unquote. Dixon then asserted, quote, "And the thing is, they not only attack Frank Castle, they attack the people that like to read Punisher. In smaller quotes, they're all idiots and troglodytes," unquote. He would later add, quote, "It's unprecedented. I've never seen a company destroy their own characters purposely, just eliminating them. It's crazy," unquote. While Dixon does not fault Aaron, in the book, Aaron claims the series is, quote, "one of the proudest moments of my 20-year comic book writing career," unquote. He also notes, quote, "This is a story I've wanted to tell for many years, and I am grateful to all involved at Marvel Comics for making it happen." So he's had it out for the Punisher as well, you know. Even if Chuck doesn't blame him, I'm sure there are a lot of fans of the Punisher who who probably want to crucify this guy. They probably want to literally take his head off. Granted, they won't, because that's just not what civilized people do. But, but you get the point there. Dixon, along with Arcaven Comics publisher Vox Day, announced they would be creating a new series, Black Warrant, in the vein of The Punisher, that will also launch a new superhero universe. And we've been hearing about this too. I think in the last article I read in regards to Chuck Dixon, they talked about this too. Let me just take these on the road quick here before we continue on. Let me just. Okay, so anyways, Dixon detailed, quote, "It's not exactly a secret that the Punisher is my favorite character to write. For whatever reason, I have an affinity for the guy, and the stories came easily. But if we're being honest, Frank Castle was never a good fit at Marvel Comics." Yeah, I remember reading that quote before from a previous story. Quote, "There were always restrictions when writing about him," unquote. Dixon elaborated. Quote, "Editors waved me off for, in smaller quotes, going too far." Quote, "Now I'm working on Black Warrant, which is in the same vigilante justice genre, except the guardrails, training wheels, and safety bumpers have been taken off," unquote, Dixon explained. He added, quote, "I'm allowed to take this genre in places it's never been taken and having a blast doing it," unquote. So basically, just imagine the Punisher pushed to the nth degree. I guess that's what Chuck is saying here. Just imagine the Punisher pushed to the nth degree. Publisher Vox Day provided details on the new superhero universe. Quote, "Black Warrant will be the first superhero in a brand new superhero universe from Arcaven Comics. The first script by the legend is complete, and illustrating process is already underway. Helix Hayes, the excellent illustrator of Alt Hero Q, is the illustrator. Day added, quote, "Black Warrant will be joined by Red Hornet, created by Vox Day, and another superhero who has been created by a third creator whose name will be very familiar to everyone here. The shared universe will not be part of the Alt Hero universe, but will harken back to the Silver Age superheroes and will extend in time over a century from the dawn of the 20th century to today." Core number one. The cover for the latest Rippaverse comics entry. Yeah. Not only is Dixon working on Black Warrant, but he also discussed with July he's working on another title within the Rippaverse. Dixon relayed, quote, "Me and my artist on Alpha Core, we got excited about this whole universe. Brand new superhero universe with someone who gives a bleep about producing quality comics, and we're like," in smaller quotes, "okay, let's do this," smaller quote. "And in the middle of it, we thought, well, we'd like to create our own character here, a solo character, sort of a more street level, street based crime fighter," unquote. Quote, "So we kicked around a few ideas, and I presented them to you. And then finally last week, you said, go ahead, and I'm ready. I'm already into it. I'll have this script done next week easy, unquote. What do you make of Dixon's comments on Marvel Comics and Jason Aaron's most recent Punisher series? Yeah, well, he may not blame Jason Aaron in part. He may blame more the editorial staff. But what I think I don't know if he realized this though, was that Jason was more more than willing to be a willing pawn to them. Okay, he was in that same mindset they were. So that's something he may want to take into consideration, even though he doesn't want to castigate Aaron for that. All right, this is the next story we're going to cover here. 14 minutes. We have some people here. Hey, Hex. Hey, Hex. Thanks for dropping in. If of course, if you can like and share the stream, so we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. And if you haven't already, and also, of course, if anything here that we talk about grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or ask questions, and try to answer them to the best of my ability there. Let's see now. Yeah. All right. With that, let's get into this next article then. Prolific Batman writer Chuck Dixon explains why, quote, the superhero cycle had a good run, but it's over. So, article by John F. Trent, published 2 days ago. The comic books, movies, television says abounding in the comics here. All right, so here we go. Chuck Dixon, who created the Batman villain Bane and penned some of the most iconic Batman, Robin, G.I. Joe, and Punisher stories ever created, recently explained why he believes, quote, the superhero cycle had a good run, but it's over, unquote. And then we see the classic Who Rules, and we see the classic art from the cover here of Bane with a tattered and torn Batman over his head, about to break his back. Just one good shock right across his knee there. Dixon made the assertion that the superhero film cycle was over in a post to his personal Facebook. He shared a screenshot of Michael Keaton's Batman coming face to face with Ezra Miller's The Flash. He captioned it, writing, quote, the superhero cycle had a good run, but it's over, unquote. Let's see now. Let's see. All right. Well. Speaking with Bounding into Comics, Dixon, who is currently crowdfunding a Rambo prequel story titled First Kill. So Chuck's pretty busy these days, isn't he? He's working on Black Warrant for Archaven. He's working on a story for the Ripperverse. He's working on First Kill here. Elaborated on his assertions. First, he detailed, quote, every movie cycle ends. Westerns give way to spies, who give way to horror, and on and on. The superhero genre has had an extraordinarily long run, unquote. He then went into why he believes it's over for superheroes at the box office. Quote, but a number of factors have contributed to drop in interest for comic book based content. Oversaturation, inconsistent quality, and Hollywood's restricted access to the Chinese market, unquote. Dixon then pointed to the mismanagement of the most prominent superhero universes by both Warner Brothers and Disney. Quote, both Disney and Warner's are to blame as well. Marvel fans had to put up with a steady assault of woke content, an overbearing amount of comedy included in material, a general decline in the quality of effects, and most damaging, a deliberate departure from the source material at every opportunity. Mm-hmm. Quote, DC screwed the pooch by constantly rebooting their franchises with new auteurs and casts. In addition, they diluted their brand with multiple different and conflicting continuities spread across TV and features. He asserted, quote, which Batman is real, in smaller quotes, who is the authorized Superman, unquote. Pointing to the most recent the Flash film, Dixon said, quote, and they damned themselves with this latest Flash flick by leaning into all the multiverse nonsense in order to cram as many cameos into this failed project as possible, unquote. Dixon rhetorically asked, quote, is it any wonder even dedicated fans are staying home and tuning out? Hmm. See if anybody's going to comment on anything there. Guess we're back down to one, I guess, but all right. So, anyways, all right. So, continuing on then. Quote, with nearly every studio currently billions in the red, they can no longer afford to either produce more tentpole superhero flicks or even market and release ones they have in the can or in post production, unquote, he concluded. When asked what he believed will be the next cycle following superheroes, Dixon shared, quote, there's more horror films in production currently than in the entire history of cinema. Those are always earners as they cost less to complete, unquote. Quote, I also know that studios are looking for more mid-budget action flicks with bankable leads. Good news for guys like Jason Statham and Chris Hemsworth, unquote, he added. Oh, look at that. Chris Hemsworth is Tyler Rake and producer Miriam and Marta as Nina. She. All right. So, anyways, interestingly, Dixon's comments come in the wake of James Gunn sharing he believes there are actually too many superhero movies being produced today. He shared his thoughts to former Lex Luthor actor Michael. Okay, so that was the same Michael Rosenbaum I was thinking of on his show Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Yeah, we covered some of this interview yesterday in our news coverage. Rosenbaum asked, quote, do you think there are too many superhero shows and movies? And because I remember when I did Smallville, there were none, unquote. Gunn answered, quote, yes, yeah, I do think there's too many, unquote. Rosenbaum then followed up asking, quote, so what do you do about that, unquote. Gunn responded, Quote, but I don't think it's not. It's much less a problem of too many. And yes, we are not going to overextend ourselves at DC. We're going to be very careful with the product that we put out, making sure everything is as good as it can possibly be. Unquote. Yeah, as I noted yesterday, when we were talking about James Gunn and him talking about the issues with comic book sales, I found it quite amazing that even though it's clear that most comic book fans do not like a lot of the stuff that's coming out, for, being written, being drawn, he'd still double down on writing the kind of content that's failing them right now. So it's like, James Gunn. He then shared, quote, I think that what's happened is people have gotten really lazy with their superhero stories, and they have gotten to the place where, in small quote, oh, it's a superhero, let's make a movie about it. And they make, in small quote, oh, let's make a sequel because the first one did pretty well, unquote. And they aren't thinking about why is this story special? What makes this story stand apart from the other stories? What is the story at the heart of it all? Basically, a lot of this stuff is, but some of this stuff is what Chuck was even talking about earlier in this article and even in the previous article too that we read. That it fills a need for people in theaters to go see or on television. Quote, and I think that people have gotten a little lazy, unquote, he reiterated. Quote, and there's a lot of biff, pow, bam stuff happening in movies. Like I'm watching third acts of superhero films where I really just don't feel like there's a rhyme or reason to what's happening. I don't care about the characters, unquote. He continued, quote, and they've gotten too generic. There's this sort of middle of the road type of a genre, tone, and that so many superhero movies, as opposed to having very different genres. I like very serious superhero movies. I like very comedic superhero movies. I like ones that are really just a murder mystery, but it's with superheroes. Gunn added, quote, I like to see these different types of stories as opposed to seeing the same story told over and over again. Which I think, again, is something else that Chuck had pointed out too previously there. I don't know how many times I spoke there. After Rosenbaum shared his thoughts and noted that the stories need to be more compelling, Gunn offered more of his own thoughts. Quote, I think that also, and then people say superhero fatigue. I think that you see now that it's not a real thing. People are fatigued with repetition. And I don't think it's really just superhero movies. I think you're seeing it happening now. It's spectacle films in general. Unquote. Let's see if anybody has popped in to say hi again or anything like that. Nope. Oh, we did get another like. That's good. Thank you guys for all the likes. Is anybody I can invite over to join the joyride? Yeah. That I love you, fool. I love you. Wanna join the joyride? Join the joyride. Anyways, getting back to the article here. See, he went on, quote, but there's a lot of spectacle films made and they just have gotten really generic. And they've gotten boring, and they aren't about character. There's no emotion to them. And there should be emotion in things, no matter. That should always be there, some type of emotion. I'm not saying it can't be really light. I'm not saying it can't be really heavy. I'm saying there should be some sort of emotion. Unquote. So basically, finding that nice balance of emotion there. Gunn would then reference the horror genre. Quote, in a horror movie, if you like that main character, then you are much more scared when they're about to get killed. The stakes matter, unquote. If the end of the superhero cycle is indeed here, Dixon has proven he's able to adapt and create stories across genres, including his upcoming Rambo story, First Kill. Yeah, he's got a few of them out there right now. Dixon also recently released a new gritty fantasy novella following the exploits of Conan the Barbarian titled The Siege of the Black Citadel. Dixon also has been working on the long-standing vigilante justice thriller series starring Levin Cade. The series of novels is up to 11 now. He even has a science fiction comic coming, Something Big, with his longtime Punisher collaborator, Frank Fosco, that you can read for free at archaven.com. What do you make of Dixon's observation of superhero film and TV shows? Do you agree with him that the superhero cycle is over? Well, it might be this still cycle might be over. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's over or just got basically just simply got killed by corporate Hollywood and these woke artists and writers. I don't know if it's over or they just simply killed the genre. But anyways, hmm. Hey Rick, thanks for dropping in. Um, Hopefully you're having a good day today. Thank you for the like and the share. Anyways, we're about to go on to the next story. Let's see, we're 34 minutes, so we have at least enough time to get one more. The other story I probably was going to do tonight in before we start wrapping up. There we go. There it is. All right, so First trailer for Netflix's live-action One Piece series leaves fans divided. Article by Spencer McCulley, published June 20th. So, almost 5 years to the date after its public reveal, Netflix has finally given fans their first look at Netflix's live-action One Piece series, and it's left them divided, to say the least. So you got right there around the horn, you got the Straw Hat there. There's Luffy, and then to his right, I think that's Nami. I think the one there is Usopp, and then you got Zoro, the green hair, and Sanji. So. Released on June 17th, which was last Saturday, I believe, during Netflix Tudum fan event in Brazil. The brief teaser opens with a shot of Iñaki Godoy's Luffy sitting atop the mast of the Straw Hat's first ship, the Going Merry. Quote, ever since I was a kid, the sea has been calling, unquote, he recalls as the camera begins to present sweeping views of various locales, including the Barati restaurant and a marine base. Quote, so I'm setting out, follow my dreams. I'm going to be king of the pirates, unquote. Quote, all I need is a loyal crew, Luffy then exclaims. All this from both the manga and the anime as well. The teaser revealing him to be recapping all of this to his soon-to-be first mate, Roronoa Zoro, played, I guess, by Makenyu. The latter crucified for crossing the pirate Captain Morgan, quote, and I think together we'd make a good team, unquote. As Zoro raises his head in disbelief at Luffy's proposal, the trailer cuts to find the first of the 5 united Straw. Quote, we're heading up to the Grand Line, unquote, he asserts over a shot of Zoro engaging in a sword fight with an as of yet unidentified enemy, possibly Baroque Works former Mr. Seven, whose attempts to forcefully bring Zoro into the group's ranks will reportedly be expanded upon by Netflix, parentheses. Quote, a treacherous stretch of ocean with bigger islands and bigger pirates, unquote, explains Nami, who's portrayed by Emily Rudd. Her statement capped off with the admittedly impressive reveal of the series incarnation of Captain Boogie, played by Jeff Ward there. Unfortunately for all the goodwill the series set design, costuming, and apparent fight choreography had bought over the previous 50 seconds, the trailer then trips over itself with the reveal the series will unfortunately suffer from at least a spot of, in smaller quotes, Marvel humor. In a scene aboard the Going Merry, Nami finds herself surprised by Zoro's rough handling of a treasure chest, meeting his careless slamming of it onto the ship's deck with the warning, quote unquote, careful with that. Annoyed by her nagging, Zoro fires back, quote, I don't work for you, unquote, prompting Luffy to attempt to defuse the situation by loudly announcing, quote, I'm sensing a little bit of tension amongst the crew. unquote. Their frustration, now directed at their captains, Zoro and Nami, both angrily clarify to Luffy, quote unquote, not a crew. Oh boy. Yeah, and I can just see I can see the anime versions of this in my head. From there, the teaser builds to its climax with a montage of action shots, then Sanji's underwater rescue of Luffy during the fight with the Arlong pirates, Luffy, Zoro, and Nami's escape from a group of Marines, and Sanji's forceful attempt to prevent fighting from breaking out inside the aforementioned Barati. As Luffy declares, quote, we haven't sailed together for very long, but I know we've got each other's backs, unquote. The teaser comes to a head by using a scene from his first meeting with Elvira, Ila y Soralis Paulino, to unveil just how the series will handle its protagonist Gum Gum powers, as the fact that he's a rubber man. Oh. Stumbling one more time before the finish line, the trailer closes out Luffy explaining to Zoro, quote, all great fighters call out their finishing moves, unquote. To which the swordman chastises, quote unquote, no, they don't. Unsurprisingly, between the series' obvious dedication to its source material, quote in parentheses here, a fact no doubt helped by the personal involvement of Oda himself, parentheses, and its uncomfortable brushes with Western writing, fan response to the teaser was wildly mixed. While some found themselves impressed just by the sheer fact that it did not look as painfully awful as Netflix's live action Cowboy Bebop series, others felt that One Piece had revealed itself to be a grade A Dragon Ball Evolution tier disaster. Wow, such a wide range of reactions there, huh? Quote, every movie now looks like those 2010's fake edit trailers people made on YouTube, unquote, wrote Twitter user Doomer Coomer. Let's see. Quote, visually, it doesn't look that bad at all. I'm super surprised, unquote, opined at slime fancy pants. Quote, tone feels extremely off, like just wrong, laugh out loud, but we'll see, I guess, unquote. Quote, I'm on the fence about it, unquote, admitted at King to Wesley. Quote, but at least, in brackets, the swordplay looks promising, unquote. Let's see, anybody else is here? Who else dropped in? We got 3 people viewing now. Thank you guys for dropping in. If you guys haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Also, feel free to comment and or ask questions if anything catches your attention. As we continue on here, quote, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I don't know. Just wait till release, unquote, said at W Rust Art. Quote, visually, it's a huge step above New Bebop and Death Flicks, but I don't know, dialogue concerns me the most, unquote. Netflix. That's funny. Ah, quote, Godoy really is perfectly cast as Luffy, unquote, said at Falcoves, plenty of alcoves. Um, quote, he's great. I love his delivery of quote unquote gum gum and his whole vibe. Too bad if the dialogue they give him is cringe. In parentheses, the quote unquote sensing tension line is so painful, unquote. Oh, I like the aesthetics and production, considering how borderline impossible it is to adapt um, OP into live action. It couldn't look any better in live action, unquote. Likewise stated at Crello, um, bottom line, ping. Quote, the crew looked ripped straight out of East Blue Pift, unquote. They added, quote, those MCU jokes are some donkey through donkey, though. Oh my lord. Giving the teaser at least some credit, at War on Fan Service noted, quote, looks still cringe like all adaptations, but at least they tried to look somewhat like the characters, unlike Disney, unquote. Quote, let's hope for bikini scenes to stay true to the original, unquote. Um, they then asked, quote, I mean, you have to write Netflix. Quote, some things don't translate well to live action, unquote, echoed uh, Bielki, yes, Bilking Riot. I guess that's how you might pronounce that. Quote, Hollywood learned nothing from, in brackets here, M. Night Shyamalan's Avatar movie. Quote, they changed Luffy's character from an idiot into an idealist and a smart A, criticized at CEO of Gyaru. Um, quote, they even took a jab on anime as a whole with calling out finishing moves. It's clear that it was made like any other live action, filled with contempt to the original and its fans. Unquote. Which again is something that I think a lot of people were worried about with this, just like with the Cowboy Bebop live action variation. Quote, not everything needs to be live action. Oh my god, unquote, lamented Zexy off. Quote, this just does not work. The campiness of the character designs is just not translating well, unquote. Quote, can this finally stop? Unquote, he then begged. Quote, animation is a great medium on its own and is able to tell the story perfectly fine. This adds nothing, unquote. Oh, generally, just a bunch of mixed reviews there. Netflix's live action One Piece is currently scheduled to hit the high seas on August 31st. Alrighty then. Well, with that, let's see, where are we at on time here? 50 minutes. So, all right. So we might end up going a tad over, but I'm going to go ahead and just get through some stuff real quick here. Wrestling wrap up, and then, of course, this day in each history. So let's see. On the WWE front, let's see, is there much being yes. So there's not much on the WWE front I can probably talk too much about here. Of course, it's Thursday, so obviously, they'll have SmackDown tomorrow night, but as they'll probably be doing more Money in the Bank qualifying matches. And of course, speaking of qualifying matches, well, before we even get to those, let's look at last night's Dynamite. I'm gonna go over the results there real quick there. Now, I did watch some of the I watched a lot of the matches from it earlier. For a go home Dynamite, this really really was a little underperforming. So you had in the opening match, you did have Austin and Colton Gunn defeating Jeff and Matt Hardy. During the match, they ended up writing Jeff off of TV for a bit here. Not necessarily because of anything he's done, but apparently, as they are preparing to go into Canada for both Collision and the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, Jeff is not going to be allowed to go into Canada due to his DUI arrest. So they had to write him off TV. So the Guns won the match, and then of course there ended up being a bit of a melee in which the Guns, and with help from Bullet Club Gold of Jay Jay White and Juice Robinson, came in and started like a 4-on-2 beatdown, and up until AEW World Tag Champions FTR, CM Punk, and Ricky Starks all came out to help even the odds a bit. Mark Briscoe defeated Jeff Jarrett in a concession stand brawl that I thought, again, was a little underwhelming. I've seen some of the past concession stand brawl, and for those of you who never saw what Jeff Jarrett called the trilogy, the concession stand brawl are akin to what came later in the 90s. If you remember Chris Benoit and Kevin Sullivan's Falls Count Anywhere matches from WCW from back in like 95, 96, then you have a pretty good idea what a concession stand brawl is supposed to be. Minoru Suzuki and the Jericho Appreciation Society members, Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara, defeated Action Andretti, AR Fox, and Darius Martin, which they used to set up a six-man match between those three that I just mentioned. Sting, Darby Allin, a mystery partner of their choosing, to be held at Forbidden Door this Sunday. Former Ring of Honor Pure Champion Daniel Garcia and and current IWGP World Television Champion Zack Sabre Jr. Defeated current Pure Champion Katsuyori Shibata and AEW International Champion Orange Cassidy, giving them some momentum heading into this Sunday, as Cassidy will be defending the AEW International title against Zack Sabre Jr. In the main event, saw Chris Statlander retain her title over Taya Valkyrie, which was more or less, pretty good, pretty good match. Again, maybe a little underwhelming for what was to happen. Coming up over the weekend here for as Dynamite will be tomorrow night. Coming from the Wintrust Arena in Chicago, and then you have Collision Saturday night and Forbidden Door Sunday. So tomorrow night's Rampage will include an 8-man tag match. Swerve Strickland teams with United Empire members Jeff Cobb, Kyle Fletcher, and Will Ospreay to take on members of the Chaos faction from New Japan. Rocky Romero, best friends Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor, and Billy Gunn and the Acclaim team up in a 6-man tag to take on Axel Rico, Darius Luttrell, and Coda Hernandez in a women's quarterfinal match in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. Anna J.A.S. takes on Sky Blue, while Doki with Yoshinobu Kanemura in his corner will be taking on Jack Perry. They prepare for this weekend's Forbidden Door. On this Saturday's Collision, coming from the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, you'll have in the main event CM Punk teaming with AEW World Tag Team Champions FTR and Absolute Ricky Starks to take on Bullet Club Gold members Juice Robinson, Jay White, and the Guns, an 8-man tag that was set up on last night's Dynamite. In another women's quarterfinal match, Nyla Rose will be taking on New Japan's women's strong openweight champion Willow Nightingale. Andrade El Idolo be taking on Brody King, and I guess going after the members of the AEW World Trios Champions, as Andrade had a successful victory over Buddy Matthews last week, and Hiroshi Tanahashi in his preparation for his upcoming AEW World Title match with MJF will be taking on Swerve Strickland. Then heading into Sunday's Forbidden Door, on the main show, we have a number of titles being Kenny Omega defends the IWGP United States Heavyweight title against Will Ospreay. In a dream match, the American Dragon Bryan Danielson takes on Tadzuchika Okada. As we just mentioned, MJF will be defending the AEW World title against Hiroshi Tanahashi. IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Sanada takes on Jack Perry, who will have Hook in his corner. In a 10-man tag match, the Elite members Adam Page and the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, will also be teaming with Eddie Kingston and Tomohiro Ishii, take on the Blackpool Combat Club members Ring of Honor World Champion Claudio Castagnoli, John Moxley, Wheeler Yuta, and teaming along with Konosuke Takeshita and Shota Umino. In another Owen Hart in a men's tournament quarterfinal match for the Owen Hart in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, CM Punk will be taking on former NWA World Champion Satoshi Kojima. As previously mentioned as well, Minoru Suzuki teaming with Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara of the Jericho Appreciation Society take on Darby Allin, Sting, and a mystery partner. And then now, originally, this was slated to be just Zack Sabre Jr. versus Orange Cassidy, but in a 4-way match, Orange Cassidy will be defending the AEW International Championship against Ring of Honor Pure Champion Katsuyori Shibata, New Japan IWGP World Television Champion Zack Sabre Jr., and former Pure Champion Daniel Garcia. So, there you go with that. Now, to give you guys a little heads up on what's going to be going on tonight on Impact Wrestling. As of course, Impact is still working their way towards. They got a 2-day tour of Australia next Friday, and then next Friday and Saturday, and then coming up on July 15th will be Slammiversary. Heading into that, on tonight's episode of Impact. On tonight's episode of Impact from the Ohio Expo Center in Columbus, Ohio, Bully Ray and Steve Macklin will be taking on Eddie Edwards and Frankie Kazarian. Taylor, one half of the Knockouts champion, tag team champions, Taylor Wilde will be taking on Killer Kelly. Jonathan Gresham and Mike Bailey will be teaming up against two members of the Design of Angels and Cone with Dina in their corner. And the Good Hands will be Jason Hodge and John Schuyler. The Good Hands will be teaming with their mentor, Brian Myers, take on the threesome from Ohio versus Everyone, OVE. Jake Crisp, Madman Fulton, and Sammy Callahan. So with that, guys, that's all I have in terms of wrestling news. So now, to finish things off, I'll go over this day in each history. Today is Thursday, June 22nd, 2022. Let's take a look back at this day in each history. History! So first off, I'm going to head back 30 years ago today. It's on this date, 30 years ago today, the 15th issue of Batman Shadow of the Bat went on sale on this date back in 1993. It was cover price was $1.75 with 32 pages. It was the second part of the Gotham Freaks storyline written by Alan Grant, penciled by Joe Staton. Steve Mitchell did the inking, lettering done by Todd Klein, with Adrian Roy doing the coloring. So there we go with that one. Now, moving ahead to 1998, 25 years ago today. As on this date, 25 years ago today, the WWF held its Monday Night Raw event for the Frank Irwin Center in Austin, Texas, and I believe this was the go home Raw, heading into their King of the Ring pay-per-view. Main event saw Mankind defeat Billy Gunn. In a King of the Ring and a couple of King of Ring qualifying matches, The Rock defeated Triple H in the King of Ring qualifying match. Dan Severn defeated Owen Hart. Jeff Jarrett defeated Mark Merrow. Let's see, and to start off the show, Ken Shamrock defeated Mark Henry. So those are the results from 25 years ago, as Raw held its Monday Night Raw event from the Frank Irwin Center in San Antonio. Also, on this date in 2008, which was, of course, 15 years ago today, the passing of two actors. Dodie Goodman, who provided the voice of Ms. Miller in the Chipmunks cartoon. She was the one who, of course, who took in and would eventually adopt the Chipettes. Also, you guys might remember her as Aunt Sophie Drummond in Different Strokes. She passed away on this date 15 years ago at the age of 93. And George Carlin, American actor, comedian, and social critic, author and social critic, known, of course, for his crass humor, but also provided the voice of Rufus in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, was the narrator and Thomas's friend, and as well as one of the conductors for a Shining Time station as well. He passed away from heart failure at the age of 71. So that happened 15 years ago today, passing those two actors. And then on this date 10 years ago today, the first season of AIC Plus's Data Live would finish its airings on Tokyo television. So on this date, 15 years ago today, AI Plus's Data Live anime would complete its run on its first season on Tokyo television. Hey, Woody! 71 is too young. All right. So, anyways, guys, I thank everybody for being here. I thank you guys for all the likes and shares. So tomorrow night, of course, will be our weekly look back at comics history. We'll be looking at we'll be starting our coverage in November 1939. I'll have R.J. Carter with me, the co-host, and we'll be looking at Flash Volume 1, Number 1. We'll be introducing you guys to the original versions. Jay Garrick as the Flash, Carter Hall, the Earth 2 versions. Carter Hall as Hawkman, Johnny Thunder and his Thunderbolt, and Rodney Gaynor as the Whip. So hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.